Well, welcome, Joe. I'm happy to have you here, and I've been asking all the different Hay House authors one question, the same, and that is, do you have your own spiritual practice that you personally do, and how has that changed over the years, and how has that helped you, and that sort of thing. So I'm trying to let people get a feeling of different things people do and how it can help them.
Well, for me personally, when I wake up in the morning, I ask myself the same exact question every single day. And that question is, what is the greatest ideal of myself that I can be today? Now, there's enough science to support this concept that when we begin to become conscious of our unconscious thoughts, we begin to notice our unconscious habits and behaviors, and we begin to pay attention to our emotions. The fact that we are observing those aspects of the old self means that we're no longer the old self. We begin to become consciousness observing the old self. So my process is to become conscious of who I no longer want to be. And if 95% of who we are by the time we're 35 years old is a set of memorized behaviors, attitudes, beliefs, perceptions, and emotional reactions that function like a subconscious computer program, then it's entirely possible that we're unconscious most of our waking day, right? So then the hardest part about change is not making the same choices we did the day before. So the biological model of change requires unlearning and relearning. It requires breaking the habit of the old self and reinventing a new self. What we say in neuroscience, pruning synaptic connections and sprouting new connections. Unmemorizing emotions that are stored in the body, and then reconditioning the body to a new mind and to a new emotion. It's literally drawing your energy from the past and putting it into the future. Deprogramming and reprogramming, breaking the habit of the old self is really the model. So when I sit down in my discipline, in my morning meditation, the first thing that we have to do is we have to become conscious of our unconscious self. So it's entirely possible that we're judging other people and we don't know that we're doing it because it's an unconscious program. It's entirely possible that we're living by guilt every single day because it's become so common and so familiar to us. So as we begin to become conscious of those unconscious states, we're going into the operating system of the subconscious and making them conscious. So the more we are conscious of those unconscious states, the more control we have on those later on in our day. And so most people, they start out with really good intentions to think positively, but they may have been thinking, acting, or feeling negatively for the last 25 years. So I just take a little bit of time and I become aware of who I no longer want to be. Then I begin to think about who I want to be when I open my eyes, what thoughts I do want to fire and wire in my brain, what behaviors I do want to demonstrate. And if you begin to contemplate or even mentally plan or rehearse your behaviors, if you do it properly, mental rehearsal shows that you begin to install the neurological circuits in your brain. So now the brain looks like the experience has already happened, or better yet, the brain is primed now for you to get your behaviors to match your intentions in your waking day. If I can bring up the emotion of how this new ideal would feel, the end product of every experience is called an emotion. So if I can begin to feel what it would be like to be the greatest ideal of myself, then I'm giving my body a taste of the future emotionally. And the research shows that rehearsal both changes the brain as well as the body. So then if I can get my brain primed to be thinking differently, and I can get my body primed to be feeling differently, how you think and how you feel creates a state of being. And the quantum field responds to who we're being. So our job then is when we get up from our meditation, we should feel differently than when we sat down. But that's not enough. Then you have to maintain your modified state of mind and body your entire day. And if you do that properly and be greater than the conditions in your environment, to be greater than the emotional addictions and habits of the body, and be able to sustain that change for just a suspended period of time, get ready because something unusual is going to happen in your life. That's the law. And it always comes in a way that we least expect, because if we can expect it, it's nothing new. It has to rock our world. It has to catch us off guard. And when we see the effects of our change in our internal state being produced in our external world, we'll pay attention to what we did and we'll do it again. So for me personally, I ask that question, what's the greatest ideal of myself? And I don't get up from my meditation until I feel like that person. And then when I get in that state of being, then I do my best to live from that state of being.
And how long does that take?
It's a great question.
It might take some of us all day. We might never get up.
Well, it's really a great question because that's really what people are afraid of. I mean, for me personally, I allow for 2 hours every morning. Now people say, oh my God, 2 hours. Do you take 2 hours? No. But I allow for 2 hours. Why? Because if I allow for 1 hour, my ego will say, well, there's not enough time. You won't get it done. But if I allow for 2 hours, I'm not thinking about time. So some days I'm able to find the sweet spot of the present moment, and in a matter of moments, I can become conscious of my unconscious self and then decide who I want to be and bring up the thoughts and emotions, and I can change my state of being. Other days I'm thinking about flights I have to catch, people I have to see, emails I have to check, staff members I have to meet with, and I'm not in the present moment. So it may take me some days 45 minutes to an hour just to keep bringing my body back to the present moment. But that's the work. And I always know that if I keep going and I keep working with bringing the body back to the present, either from the future or from the past, if I do that properly, I always say the same thing when I connect. I always say, that was so worth it. It was so worth making the effort to get beyond myself. So I allow for 2 hours, and it doesn't normally take me 2 hours, but if I allow for 2 hours, then I can relax and not have to think about time.